Hello and welcome to this episode of Community Voices Uganda here on Civic Space TV. My name is Philip Melissa, and let me welcome you all to this conversation where we usually gather to make a contribution to the sustainable progress of our country, Uganda, our region, our continent, and broadly the world at large. On this episode, we are having a conversation around the electoral season, electoral activities, and more precisely, we are looking at the institution of the Electoral Commission that is mandated to manage this entire exercise and taking us through the electoral roadmap from the times they initiated with registration of voters to demarcation of polling zones to nomination of candidates to now supervising the campaign season and going forward until January, where we shall have a polling day. And here on, we want to make an assessment of the different engagements the Electoral Commission is undertaking, and more precisely, recently, the documents that came into the public domain that were detailing what the Electoral Commission is doing, but also looking at actually things that should be public information perhaps by now, and certainly are not yet. And one of those was the concerns around the voter register, then concerns around the new demarcations or new polling, and also going forward looking at where those polling stations could be, who could be the voters in those areas, and certainly we want to see how best we as can assist the public in one understanding those and going forward, seeing that we have a free, fair, and credible election. My name is Philip Melissa, and on this episode, I have the privilege of hosting a panel of distinguished citizens of Uganda, whom I will introduce and invite to say hello to us before we get into the depth of the conversation. I'll start with Gloria Nawanyaga. Gloria is an aspiring youth member of parliament for the central region. Gloria, greetings. Welcome to the conversation. And as you share your greetings, please care to share with us what stood out for you in this week that is being concluded. Yes, Gloria.
Yeah, thank you so much. A good afternoon. Oh, sorry, still morning. A good morning. My name is Gloria Nawanyaga. I am an aspiring youth MP Central Region, just like the host has mentioned. I am also a human rights lawyer. I am also the founder of Gelo Young Posties Foundation, which is a youth-led charity organization where we do empower, equip, and educate young people living and affected by HIV to improve on their livelihoods and well-being. I'm a youth leader on my village as the youth chairperson, Chiterede Village, vice chairperson, Bosuja Parish, and secretary for Female Affairs, Kachiri Town Council. What stood out for me was the monies that were approved by Parliament for Electoral Commission just to produce ballot papers. And that amount of money is very, very, very anonymous, I can say, because you cannot tell me that just the electoral process is going to take over trillions of money, when there's so many Ugandans who are suffering, when there are so many Ugandans who can't even afford $1 a day. It is so sad, and it really stood out for me. I'm even shocked that Parliament approved the budget, the supplementary budget. But I don't know, it is really sad. But anyway, back to you.
Thank you, Gloria, for joining us. And certainly we discuss that and more as we continue with the conversation today. Next, I have a lawyer, Counsel Collins Himbaza. Counsel, greetings. You welcome to the conversation, and what stood out for you through the week?
Oh, greetings to everyone. Collins Himbaza. I'm a lawyer with Navas and a company advocate with that simple profile. What stood for me the whole of this week was too much politics, was full of fire and vibes that Ugandans And as citizens, we need to refrain somewhere, somehow, so that we can always have a peaceful moment of campaigns. And we appreciate the going. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Collins, for joining us. And I also have Nancha Esther. Esther is a youth leader within the National Resistance Movement. And Esther, greetings. Welcome to the conversation. And what stood out for you through the week?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all those listening in, and Civic Space TV. Thank you for always having me. I'm humbled to join in today to discuss this topic. I am Esther Nancha. I am a vet doctor by profession, a youth leader in the NRM, but also a former vice chairperson of the National Youth Council and a former aspirant for Central Region Youth MP on the NRM ticket. And I'm glad to be part of this discussion. What stood out for me this week, of course, was the fact that we have really failed to prioritize our needs as Ugandans, and that is being shown by what the little money that we are borrowing from funders is being used for things that personally I think are not a priority, depending on our needs. So, yes, we need the elections, but that huge amount of money that is government is willing to spend just to carry out elections, really, it breaks my heart. It really does break my heart, because being a person related to medicine and those other areas, I see very many spaces where we can actually put some money and Ugandans benefit. The medical sector is one of those. But if such huge amounts of money are really put into the election process, it does break my heart, and it notifies me that our leaders have actually decided not to prioritize our needs as Ugandans. But wow, what do we need to do about it? So that is why I am on this call, to ensure that maybe I can have a few recommendations, share my views for my fellow Ugandans. Let us not all lose hope. At a particular point, at least something will be done about it. I appreciate you and thank you for having me. Thank you, Philip.
Yes, thank you so much, Esther. And perhaps we should start there, and specifically with you, because you say you are concerned about the choices we've made as a people, but more directly the government has made in terms of the investment they are making in the electoral process. And indeed, when you look at the figures, you're talking about huge sums of money. And if you are specific to the supplementary that was passed a few days ago, you are talking about towards 502 billion shillings for the electoral commission. You are talking about another 400 for the security. You are talking about another 400 for State House. You are talking about huge sums of money. But you see, from the angle of the state and indeed the people that choose to approve this, they are looking at what the laws of Uganda say. And indeed, we are supposed to have the election. We are supposed to have all these activities catered for. And the English famously say you cannot have your cake and eat it. You have to, it is just one side you take. And if we choose to have these processes in our democracy, then certainly we must make the investment. Do we have a choice, Esther, not to make that investment?
Thank you, Philip, for that question. There are very many ways of feeling a rat. There are very, very many ways of feeling a rat. And I believe we can still do our mandate. The rules can still be followed. What government must do can be followed, but done in another way. At the end of the day, we all want elections. And you have seen elections being carried out on a lesser budget. So should we assume that all the results were faked? For me, this is what I'm thinking. As a Ugandan, Bananga, we have very many other issues that are stressing us. We have very many issues that we feel like should be prioritized over others. But I believe we can have our budgets cut and some of those extra monies put into other, issues that we think are equally important, other than spending over 500 something trillion on elections that are going to end in a few months. So after elections, what next? There is a better way that we can minimize costs and ensure that at the end of the day, we still have our leaders voted. We still have our leaders voted, but we are not leaving a country in that huge debt, or we are still prioritizing on other issues that we can use this money. We fix our budget to a few key issues that we need in the electoral process. Then we use the extra monies for something important for Ugandans. But the people have lost interest in the elections. You are seeing what is really happening. So far the turn-up of people on rallies are limited compared to what used to happen in the further days. In the later days, what does it mean? It means probably people are not any interested into voting anymore. Okay, the big number, because probably they don't have hope in their leaders, We have to investigate why that is happening. So if you want to spend this amount of money for that same activity that people might have lost interest in to that extent, what is our fate after January? What is our fate as Ugandans? Where are we going to get all that money? What is going to happen to other sectors that equally need money? Can't we fix our budgets and see that we have some little money saved and put into those other areas? Because after all, the election period is going to end. But now what next after? And if we have seen elections
Well,
carried out in the same country at a lower budget, what is going to be different this time? Has the country increased in size, or it is still the same Uganda, the same square miles? What has changed that is going to require that more money? I think,
well,
but
and you raise that concern, and we build more on that as we proceed with the conversation on actually why Uganda chooses to invest that sort of money in an electoral process. And Gloria, you are a candidate in this very election. You're standing to become member of parliament. And you see, Esther here is complaining about the magnitude of investment in the electoral cycle. And I've seen you in your introduction, you also commented on the same. But we have laws. These are choices we took. And we said we must have an election. And the Electoral Commission comes out and issues a budget. Security agencies issue a budget. These are things we must fulfill by law. Do we have a choice, in your view, beyond looking at the expenditures? Do we have a choice of actually not spending these monies if we want to sustain a country like Uganda? Yes, Gloria. Gloria, are you with us? If you can hear me, please unmute and speak to us.
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, as I told you, I'm on the road. Apologies for the background noise. So, the question is, do we have a choice? Definitely, we do have a choice, because it's not all about what the law says, because I know we have the law, but it's about what is actually the amount of money that is approved, because you can still approve a minimum sum of money, and also, just like my sister has been saying, allocate the rest to the most important things in this country. And the most important things right now to me is health financing, because you cannot tell me that the electoral budget and the security budget is more than the health budget. And you know that it's only a health Ugandan who votes. So politicians should know that if Ugandans are not healthy, or if we die, we will not vote for them to stay in power and make all those supplementary budgets and all that. So we have a choice. We have a choice. And I know, of course, in Uganda, it is by law that we are supposed to come up with the elections and organize them. And it is actually a constitutional right to have an election, which is okay. But what kind of amount is allocated to elections? For sure, you cannot tell me that trillions and trillions of Ugandan money is being allocated to elections that are just going to happen in only 2 months. And yet we still have, other sectors in Uganda that are still lagging behind. So we have a choice to do better, even though we have the law which is stipulated to have an election in the constitution, but we still have a choice to know how much we can allocate and also be able to prioritize other things that are most important. Thank you so much, and back to you.
I see, Gloria, before you go, you see, you talk about, for example, health, and this as well, I mentioned the health. But look, at the end of the day, it is the same politicians that are being voted for in this season that will actually determine what goes to the health. So in any case, you need this process so that you have the same people to go out there and then approve a vote for the health that you want to see getting better, which means this process is even more important, not so? All right. I was trying to say to you, when you say we need to, I hope you are with me now and you can hear me. When we say we need to focus monies in the different sectors of the economy, what comes to my mind is the fact that even the money that goes to those different sectors is determined by the politicians in parliament and in cabinet, which then means we have to pay even more keen attention to the electoral process. We have to make sure it happens irrespective of the investment we have to make, so that they go out there and pass the vote that goes to health, that goes to education, that goes to agriculture, all the other sectors of the economy. Doesn't that prove to us that the election is even more important than those other sectors? Gloria.
Yes, I know election is important, but you cannot tell me that election is more important than someone's health. And just like I said earlier, it's only healthy Ugandans that are going to vote these politicians. So it is by human nature for someone to really prioritize someone's life. Because at the end of the day, even though they go out there and make the policies and what, they're still going to rule to govern and be leaders of people, of which the people that they govern, if they all die, who are they going to govern? So elections are also important, but you cannot tell me that elections are more important than people's health. I don't know if you get my point. So I'm not ruling out the fact that elections are not important. They are very important because, just like I said, it's a constitutional right. It is embedded in the constitution. It is, something that should be exercised as per the constitution. But the monies that were really approved, they are unreasonable. That money is unreasonable. Just compare that budget to the health budget right now. Compare that budget to a Ministry of Education budget right now. These are the things that we should be really focusing on: education, right to health, our economic empowerment as young people, the economic growth as Uganda, not elections, of which I think one of the things that my sister mentioned, there are some people who have even lost trust in elections. And I can tell you, even right now, there are people who are not going to vote because they know that even if they vote, they are the same people who are going to be who are going to be announced, even though they were not, rightfully voted for. So some people have lost interest in interest and trust in the elections, even though they're important, but we cannot really put them over health and other important issues that are affecting our country. Thank you, and back to you.
All right, thank you, Gloria, for that. And Collins, I want to really hear from you, because when I hear the concerns from the two ladies on the panel here, there is a sense in which they are uncomfortable with the amount of money that is being spent on the electoral activities. But you and I know that these are gazetted activities, these are legal activities that a country must undertake. And I want to hear your thoughts from you. Do we have the cake or do we eat it? And we can't have both. And if we chose to run a democracy, and I understand you for a Democrat, for the many times I've heard you here, shouldn't we then be comfortable with whichever cost and price that comes with it? including the kind of expenditures we're talking about here that were approved by Parliament recently, but also in the previous years that have been running on the electoral calendar. Yes, Collins.
Oh, thank you very much, Philip. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gloria, Esther, and the entire Center of Constitution. I'm grateful to be hosted again, and it's always a pleasure on my end that we join brains and we discuss something that can help the youth, can help the nation. Yeah. As to your question, generally, me, I would be happy to say that we need this process. Us having this process, it should be a process that is accountable to each and every person. So it being accountable, what does it mean? It means that we should be able to work within our means. And in working within our means, we shouldn't even be able to work past what we have. If right now our government is even borrowing trillions of money for supplementary budget, and at the same time you're spending that money in this exercise, there is a problem that should be harmonized, because we need this process. As you said, we need leaders, we need people to serve us who are not in those positions, but still we need also to be how can I say it, we need to give portions, and these appropriate portions, so that tomorrow there are not an effect on our side. So as Gloria was saying, if you spend the whole of this money in this exercise of 3 to 4 months, and again after this exercise you still tell people we need to borrow, so it be a challenge. It be a challenge, though it's a good process. It's a good process to have readers. It's a good process to have someone who's going to serve you and speak on your end. And these same people are the same people who misuses it, because it's also going to trigger corruption out of this, in that we're not even going to have an accountability of how much was spent. So it is going to be a challenge that we need to minimize. If we have prioritized to do campaigns and elections, we need to cut costs and we need to work within our means. So in working within our means, we should... Yes, Philip?
Yeah, please finish up the point.
Yes, we shouldn't be in a position of spending too much, because as a country, as Uganda, if right now we are holding an election that is so expensive than even our budget, then there's a problem. Yet we have other services that have not been delivered. So I would even think there would be no means, or there would be no use of us having even these elections, because if every year we are spending past what we have in our saving or in our granaries, then there's a big question, there's a big concern that at the end, I've never been there. Maybe I'll beg to be guided after elections and we see EC coming out to give accountability of how much they have spent. It has never been there. Maybe I'm not informed.
Yeah, I think they filed their reports with the Auditor General.
Yes, they do, but them filing them, it does not guarantee that each and every penny they give out has been spent. We've seen corruption coming in all this process.
You know, Collins, there have been concerns from the public and from some legislators in Parliament that some of the activities quoted in the budget of the Electoral Commission, but also other government agencies, are usually bloated. And that is to say, for example, an activity that can be done at 100 million, they quote 2 billion shillings, so that they have extras that can be used for their other personal and organizational issues. Do you think there are instances where we could be having bloated budgets from the different institutions, but also the Electoral Commission, so that they have balances for themselves?
Yeah, it's true. It's true that thing has always been there, and it being there, I think we lack within ourselves as a nation, we lack transparency. And in lacking transparency, it has always affected us. In that even our leaders are the top leaders whom would say government, because the government is us. But the people we position those areas, have not exercised transparency. Because if you find a budget which is, let's say you want to do an activity of 100 million and exaggerate 2 billion, you're not even affecting yourself alone. You're affecting the taxpayer, because at the end, that money, where will it come from? From taxpayers. And now if it comes from taxpayers, we end up even not getting services because that money would be allocated to other services. So the problem is the people we position in those areas not being transparent. And them not being transparent, it is affecting us. It is eating us so hard. Because we need to utilize what we have and even save it for another time. Not using it at once and it is done and we are looking left and right where we cannot get something from to help us.
All right. Thank you, Collins, for that. And he says we must spend within our means. Thank you for that. And Esther, I want to come back to you on a point you mentioned earlier. You did say that many people have actually lost interest in the election. And I've been looking at some figures here. For example, in 2001, the voter turnout was 70%. You had about 10 million voters, and of them, 7 million came out to cast their vote. But when you look closely to how the figures have been faring in the concurrent elections, you go to 2006, you have 69, you go to 2011, it goes to 59, you go to 2016, it rises a little bit to some 66, then to 2021, it goes back down a little bit to 62%. And when you look at this trend, it is true that actually voters are continuing to shy away from the election. When you have 40% of registered voters not appearing on polling day, first of all, what does it even mean for the entire process? But two, is there a way we can motivate every registered voter to come out and vote come January 2026? Yes, Esther.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh,
Philip,
yes.
can you hear me? Okay. Now, thank you for asking me that. What I can say is people are not seeing why they are having people in leadership. Whoever we are putting in leadership, a good percentage of those are not giving us reasons why we need to put them into power. Because after all, even when we have them into existence, all they are doing is get salaries, get medical attention, fly out of the country whenever they want, improve their personal lives. But we do not see any impact. And I am saying this from a very genuine point of view. Most of the Ugandans are not seeing the reasons why they are having members of parliament. Because even the kind of laws and bills that are the policies that are being passed by our people in parliament, their fundamental role, we do not see how they're impacting our people down at the grassroots level. And that alone has made people lose interest in the election process. That is why you're seeing that today politics is too monetarized beyond normal. Because people think you're just getting a position to get money to improve your life. So before you go there, come and pay me such that I also feel like, okay, I got something from you. That is the mindset right now. And that
Esther,
has made
one of,
very many. I am
if you allow
answering what
me,
you're telling me.
yes, and I'm building on that very point. One of the thoughts that keep coming up whenever a conversation like this happens is that the apathy we see within the voting population is as a result of fatigue that has accumulated in the among the peoples of this country due to the overstay of one administration, the NRM in governance for 40 years, one party, one person at the top, and the few changes that happen within do not necessarily affect any change within the system. How do you respond to that? Should we blame the NRM for this?
Philip, for me, this is what I am telling you about this. I do not think people would actually be complaining if the NRM was doing something tangible for them. if systems were working. People have their basic needs. We have our basic needs as Ugandans. And whatever is going wrong, if things were going a bit right, let us say to a percentage like maybe 70%, we would have a reason to support the NRM wholeheartedly. For me, I am NRM. And why am I NRM? Because I do not see any other political party giving me an option why I should support them. If you're not giving me a reason why I should support you, then be sure that I am not going to get that interested. So what I'm saying is, Philip, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Perhaps I
I'm-
wanted to say that when you say you don't see any other party that gives you reason, the NUP is saying they want to
What
give you
I'm
a new
saying,
Uganda. The Common Man's Party is
so what
telling
are
you
they
that they
telling me after
want you
that
to
new
share
Uganda?
from the
What
national
are they
cake.
telling me after that new Uganda? Give me a very clear guideline of how you want to do things, And there I can believe in you and be like, maybe they have a better way of doing things. But if inside your house you're still doing dirty things, you want me to believe in you? Very many others will, but persons like me might not actually get driven along your way like easily like that. This is what I think. If Ugandans were shown that there is progress, progress that you're not going to come here and talk about, but progress that even a child can see, they would comfortably get interested in the election process, and they would give in their whole and they would participate fully. But over time, it is being proven that politicians simply get positions to just eat and improve their lives and go. And a few of those that take keen interest and want to actually do something for their people at some point might not be voted by those same voters. So for me, that is why I think that some Ugandans do not actually see the value of having politicians of voting people into power, because they have seen that even when they vote you into power, you're not going to change anything at all. At the end of the day, someone would rather go and do their business than attend a campaign rally. In the 1990s, people would attend rallies. Where would they attend? To find, let me finish up. In the 1990s, people would attend rallies to get to know what is that person going to do for us, to tell us your manifesto. And we find out, okay, we are having Mr. Museveni, what is he telling us? People would get interested because they would feel like leadership is actually doing well for them. They're advocating for issues of Ugandans. But that is people are losing hope simply because they do not see the reason why they should wake up in the morning, leave their businesses where they are going to pay taxes, and then go and make a long line for voting. So what am I communicating? Truth is, we need to do better as Ugandans. We need to find ways of how we are going to improve all this. And it is the young people that have to be the leaders, and they have to take up leadership and you take on leadership and bring on the solutions, because this is our country. We are going to live longer.
All right.
We are in our 20s, we are in our 30s, we are going to live longer. It is high time we got out of our comfort zones, sat down and discussed what we want to see the Uganda we want to live in look like, and try to devise means of getting there.
All right.
Otherwise, if we hide under beds and wait for people to think for us as youth of this generation, then we are doomed and we are heading for a doomed future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And speaking of young people taking charge, I think Gloria here is coming out to say, oh, come on, take me to parliament and see that I create some change in there, and certainly some more change will be happening. But the other thing you talk about is the concept of mass mobilization. And we know that through history, our country, our politics has been on the basis of mass mobilization, including the initiatives that led us to independence. When you look at the activities of Ignatius Musas and how he gathered people to talk to them about what was happening in the country and what needed to be done, and going through all our political parties on the basis of mass mobilization. But we discuss that and more as we continue with the conversation this afternoon. You are still on Community Voices Uganda here on Civic Space TV, and we were having a conversation around our elections, and we're paying keen attention to the Electoral Commission. We are seeing what is it so that we have a process that is free, fair, and credible, but two, we still maintain our country that we call home protected and indeed serving the people in the very different sectors of our life of serving people. Gloria, I want to speak to you. Look, you see, what we are discussing is a supplementary budget. And the ordinary definition of a supplementary budget is one that is initiated when there are unforeseen things that happen within the country, whether, say, we have a flood somewhere that we do not anticipate, something that has abruptly come up. And here on, we are talking about an electoral activity that since 2021, about. And activities continue happening based on the calendar. And here we are, just a month to the election, and we are passing supplementary budgets for the Electoral Commission to do basic things: purchase of biometric voter verification kits, printing of ballot papers, printing of the voter register, things that should be known even by an ordinary citizen in my home village. I want you to speak to that. What does it say about, first of all, our readiness, our ability to plan for the activities we want to undertake as a country, and indeed looking at us progressing to the next level, like you say? Yes, Gloria.
Yes, thank you so much. I also, before I answer the question, I also want to supplement on what my sister has said. Mind you, my sister was the only girl in the NRM primaries for the same position that I'm vying for right now. And I'm also the only girl for the position that I'm vying for right now, Central Region Youth MP. And she has called upon young people to take on responsibility to see that we create the future that we want to see. And if we sit on ourselves, indeed, it's going to be doom for us. And I've also always encouraged young people to take up responsibility, to know that if they want to create change, they should be the change that they want to see. And that is why my slogan is, let's be the change that we want to see. Unless we stand up for ourselves, no one is going to stand up for us. So it's high time as young people to take on the mantle and take on these leadership spaces and see that we create the change that we want to see. Back to your question, it is so sad that the Electoral Commission is only active, maybe for lack of a better word, but it's mostly active during the election period. And this election period happens after 5 years, or okay, let me say 4 years. So what do these people be doing all these 3 to 4 years before the election? So it really says a lot. Philip, can
Yes,
you hear
Gloria.
me?
Yes, I
Okay,
do
thank
hear
you. Sorry, I keep on getting someone is over buzzing my phone, but it's well. So I was saying that it's sad that right now the Electoral Commission is coming up to ask for a supplementary budget. Things it should have done 3 or 4 years ago, because what do they be doing all this time? By this time, they would have actually gotten all the monies that they need to implement an election, because they are always dormant these 4 years. I'm telling you, after election next year, you're not going to hear them anywhere, And what do they be doing in those offices? Do they just be sitting and enjoying the SC and the taxpayers' money? What are they really doing? You understand? So it is sad that instead of taking on their role as Electoral Commission and prepare in advance, because they've been doing a lot of nothing during those 3 to 4 years. They're just coming up right now. They're just as if they were from a call, and they were rather a wake up call, and they've been sleeping for all this time. Now they are awake, and they realize that they need more money. You get. So I think we have a lot of gaps when it comes to the Electoral Commission implementing. And my biggest question is, what do they be doing in all those 3 to 4 years when the election period has not yet come? So it shows a lot of unseriousness. It shows a lot of unpreparedness. It shows a lot of unprofessionalism. I don't know what we are really going to do about it. But for us as the advocates, we are going to continue speaking and making sure that they are accountable for their actions, that they do what they are supposed to do. They take on their responsibility, because
And maybe Gloria, if you allow me, and
at the end of the day, it's taxpayers' money. Yes, thank you.
Yes,
I think I was concluding.
Yes, I can hear you, but I wanted to ask you quickly before I let you go, because looking at how you analyze that sort of lack of preparation and doing things last minute, and I should also inform you that, for example, as we speak now, the Electoral Commission is in the process of recruiting people that will train people that will operate the biometric voter verification kits, and it's just a month and a half to election day. It is also recruiting trainers that will train those people that will man these kits across the country. And but also the kits are also just arriving in the country. I think we had the most recent batch coming in on the 29th of November, and I think there are some other elements of it that are still coming in. Looking at how these things, the process is unfolding, do you think the Electoral Commission will deliver a free, fair, and credible election come January 2026?
I think to a larger extent, it might, and I'm using the word might, it might not be a fair and free election due to the unpreparedness of the Electoral Commission, because you cannot tell me that right now it's when you're thinking of training. Yes, sorry about that. I was saying that it is sad that we might have an unfair and free election, because if it's right now that the Electoral Commission is thinking of recruiting the people who are going to, coordinate the elections, the polling officers, the whatevers, the trainers, and the equipment, the kits are still coming in right now in the country. I don't think for sure we might have a free and fair election, because at a certain point, actually, these cases we have been hearing them, even before, even the previous years of election, you hear that the ballot papers have not yet arrived at a polling station, and they arrive during at around midday, or even in the evening. And you ask yourselves, what are these people been doing all this time? And if the ballot paper arrives at a polling station at around midday, yet the law says that at least by 9 a.m. the election should have started, do you think that is really a fair and free election? I don't think it's a fair and free election. And also, if they're saying that they're importing ballot papers out of the country, don't we have really printers in Uganda where they can print these ballot papers from? I see them printing books of manifestos, and I'm not saying that I'm against the people who print, or the party that I'm going to talk about. I see them print very beautiful picture books of the president's manifesto, and they're very beautiful. Don't you cannot tell me that people who are printing those books cannot print the ballot papers, and you really have to import them from whatever country you are importing them from to Uganda. Yet we even have printers. We have all the equipment to print these things. It is sad. And I know that we might not have really a fair and free election unless we really style up and know that this should be a fair and free election, and this should be something that is taken on seriously by the Electoral Commission and the government of Uganda. Thank you, and back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Gloria, for that. And maybe for the issue of printing of ballots, that is an issue. I've seen the Electoral Commission release a document that says we have about 6 companies that are going to be involved in that activity. One is in Dubai, the other in Greece, another in Nairobi. We have, I think, 2 within the country that will do ballots for, I think, local council, local councillors in the local councils, and I think those are the companies, but the bigger positions will be printed from outside the country, and perhaps we should have more conversation around who should actually be printing stationery and things to do with that for the Republic of Uganda. But that aside, Councillor Himbaz, I want to hear from you. Earlier on, you spoke about money in the election, and I think Esther here mentioned it as well. But look, if we are talking about amendments and regulations on campaign financing from the part of candidates, we've seen members of parliament crying after the election that they've spent a lot of money. We've seen at the presidential level, we've seen even councillors spending a lot of money. But here we are, even the Electoral Commission that should regulate that is actually spending billions and billions of money to operate this process, which the panel here agrees that should cost much less than that. How do we now get into the area of managing the issue of campaign financing as a country so that we don't get to close out people who may not be that gifted financially but have the ability to lead and create transformation in our community? Yes, Collins.
Thank you, Philip, once again. The question is very clear. One, you see, as a country, I think all of us, we are the youth. I think the majority, the biggest population in Uganda right now is that population that has been, that has come through under this 40-year regime. So we, in this 40 years regime that we've been through, I think we have been taught, or we have got indicators that say that we cannot work without money. We cannot work without additional money. I think that's what majorly I can analyze from this 40-year regime. It has taught us that thing, that to do each and every small thing, we need money. And that is a very big virus that's going to consume all of us, because even another leader who's going to come, clearing that virus from people, it will be hard. Because if we are organizing something as a nation, we have to first look at the sources. We first have to look at ourselves. What do we have? I think I will use an example of a family. If a father or a mother, before you go to do something out, you have to always ask yourself, what do I have here? And what do I need to do this? So if you keep not knowing what you have, you die with borrowings. And we are going to die with borrowing in this nation. In that, we have tended to commercialize our politics. In commercializing our politics and even monetizing them, putting a lot of money, and there are those people who don't have money, but they would be even good leaders. But because from the start, everything is money. I know leaders who are good leaders. He joins parliament. I've already said it. He's a good leader. He can do each and everything. But the moment he enters that house, or the moment he enters that position, gets that position, his mind runs to money, because he thinks money can do everything. Yes, money can do everything, but we also need to be ourselves. We need to work on ourselves and show that money cannot determine who we are. We are human beings. So if Electoral Commission thinks that right now we need to spend this all huge of money, I'll go back to what Gloria was saying. Where have they been all along? Because if 5 years down, they have never given out to their budgets of how much they need, then they are bringing it at this particular time. There is a question that we are not prepared. And there is a question that now, if they are spending this huge money, even a councillor will want to spend, because he knows this is a time he has to fit into the shoes of Electoral Commission. A chairman LC5 will also have to look for money to fit in the shoes of Electoral Commission, because the needs and the wants are going to be high depending on the determinant, and the determinant is Electoral Commission. If Electoral Commission would be in position to harmonize and regulate all these activities within their means, then we would be moving on smoothly. I think what we need to do is to make Electoral Commission an independent body. The moment it becomes an independent body, then it finances itself. The moment it finances itself, and it's when it will now manage its finances. Because if we leave it where it is, I think if we leave Electoral Commission and ministerial bodies, it will keep lagging behind and doing things that are not clear, not on the right time. So I think Electoral Commission should be neutral, should be independent. It manages itself. Then we understand that it will give them that point to prepare and even cure these viruses in the community. So the moment it is independent, it's neutral, it's when it will perform to the best expectations of people.
All right. All right. Thank you, Collins, for that. And he advocates for an independent, free, and neutral electoral commission. And colleagues, beautiful conversation here we have with you this morning, discussing the electoral commission, discussing electoral reforms, and discussing what's at stake as we look at the electoral season, and indeed looking forward into January 2026. Colleagues, our time is very much fast spent. I see we have actually just about 5 minutes to be out of here, and by way of concluding, I will just give a minute to each of us to give their final remark about this topic, and certainly we shall call it an afternoon. I'll start with you, Nancha Esther. Esther, what final remarks do you have as regards this topic and this afternoon? Esther, do you hear me?
Hello, Philip. Answer kindly echo the question.
Yes, I just want to have some final remarks from you as regards this topic here as we get to the end of the conversation.
Oh, okay. Wow, it's been a very nice conversation. But for me, I call upon our leaders. As a fellow Ugandan and as a young person whose future is simply starting. People who feel like I am one of the people, like a few Ugandans, I don't know if there are others, who feel like we have to take charge of our country. And the decisions that our leaders today are taking will, at a particular point, affect us if they are not well thought of. So I call upon our leaders, people who are on the decision-making tables, to think about us when they are trying to make such decisions for the country. Because really, you cannot have over 500 trillions to be spent in just two months, because actually 1 month, because December, then January, At the end of that day, we have very many other priorities. We have very many other issues to take care of as Ugandans. I call upon them to prioritize, because we know they know what we want as Ugandans. And once a decision is being made, it being implemented, it is going to affect us as Ugandans. So please start being patriotic. Please love your country like your own. Yes, you people want to loot everything as leaders, as people or politicians. You want to loot everything. You want to make better lives for your families. But if you're having a better family in a Uganda where other people are not doing well, even your kids will not do well. After all, those kids are still in our country. They will survive with us. They will meet our brothers on the road to kill them because they'll be killing them for money. Those same people, those same young people, your children, you're prioritizing, you're stealing our money to build mansions. They are going to live with us in the community. So if you do not protect us as Ugandans, as young people coming up, if you don't say something that is going to construct us, that is going to make us better, be sure that even those kids that you're securing futures for will be in the same community with us, and at a certain point we shall get in touch with them, and whatever we shall do to them, I don't want to even think about. But let us be priority. Let us have our priorities and make decisions that are going to build our country. Because yes, we need elections, but at what budget? We can still have elections can still have that mandate of having elections being implemented, but a lower budget, and then we find how this other money can be used to fix very many other issues that Ugandans are facing. And I wish you all that are in Kadulu good luck. My sister Gloria, I wish you the best. I have been in that race before, so I know what it is. But being NRM and I lost a flag, of course, I cannot come back. But I wish you the very best, and I pray that you win. And once you get there, please be different. You might not want to be different in a population where there are 500 others, but be that one-eyed giant. that people will look at and be like, this person has always been one with integrity, has always been one prioritizing their country, because the world is always watching and it will judge us at a particular point depending on what you have done. I wish you all the best, Ugandans, but I call upon you to come and make decisions. If the president
Thank
is there
you.
to stay, let us try to
Thank
bring in
you,
members of
Esther.
parliament that will try to cause change for us. I thank you and appreciate you. Nice weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. Gloria, your final remarks. Gloria, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and give us a final remark as we get to conclude the show.
Thank you so much, my sister, for wishing me the best. And I promise you that I'm going to be different, because I have always been different and I've always created impact. And my priority is serving the young people to see that we be and create the change that we want to see. My closing remarks, and it's on a sad note, that the monies that are being used right now, it's borrowed money that our children and our grandchildren are also going to have a burden to pay. So it is really sad, but I do really advocate. I don't want to use caution the government, but advocate to see that our government does better, to see that we really prioritize what is supposed to be prioritized, and to do what we are supposed to do. We should be accountable. We should be liable for our country to be better. And it will only not take we as young people, but then also the people who already are in power, because they're the ones who make decisions. But nevertheless, we as young people, we are a new generation, we are new soldiers coming on board. We are ready to take on these offices and create the change, if the change that we need is not going to be created by these people who are already in office. I also want to remind the young people in the Central Region to vote for me. I am going to serve them. I am going to work for them. I know the issues that really affect us as young people in Central Region. They should not, be manipulated by money. I know there are some candidates who are going to come splashing money, but they should not really sell their vote because of money. A person who is going to give them their money and buy them is not going to work for them or serve them. I want them to know that I am the best candidate. And I also want to thank Civic TV for organizing this discussion. It's really a wonderful discussion. And I also pray that we have a peaceful election without any chaos, without any deaths. And we also see that we be in our Uganda that is better, and also that is favorable for all of us. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Gloria, for those remarks. And Council Collins Imbaza, your final remarks.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, colleagues, Esther and Gloria, for the remarks. The only thing I can say is that I will make a request. I don't know whether my request is will be granted. I think, Philip, you should get time and host these people so that they can tell us what they be thinking. That would be my remark. You should get time and host them. Yes. Then they tell us what they be thinking whenever they are doing these things, because it's becoming too much on our side, the youth, as the nation, as the country we are in, when we are seeing there is no money, but money is being blown here left and right. And another question would be on my side, maybe one day, one time they would answer it. For them, where do they get that money? For us, we're looking for that money, we're not seeing it. For them, where do they get that money that they are splashing left and right? Maybe we need to be we need to be told where they get money, so that at least we can we cannot pray for our country that God should come and save us. I think we're almost changing our motto from for God and my country to God should come and save Uganda. In this short period of time we are remaining with to choose our leaders, I would say time is gone and time has been well spent. People have done campaigns. People have already known who is capable and who is capable to be their leader. Let's not look on money. Let's look on ideas. Let's look on someone who can deliver us, because we need voices. We need people who can speak. We don't need money. Yes, I know there's money in those ends. There's money. People make money. But at least, however much you're going to go and make money from there, please speak for us. Us who are the minorities, speak for us. Make that money. We have no problem. No one is going to feel like you're making money from that house, no, from that position, no. But when you're there, speak for us as you make that money, so that at least there is a change. There is something that impacts the people. Even whenever you're speaking in community, people are eager to hear you speaking. Not now start jeering you from left and right, and people are like, I don't want to attend to hear what that person is saying. So speak for us, present us very well. I would say, Gloria, I wish you well. I wish you the best moment of yourself. I know in these campaigns, you're going to run a lot to work with people, to work with different people who have different ideologies, different minds. But I know you're capable and you can do it. Please do it. For the Civic, for our Civic Space TV, I'm grateful that you've tried to do that thing that even Electoral Commission has never done. I think even our president, for him, is always about campaigning and saying what he has done, but he has never one time stood to sensitize people on how elections should be conducted, on how the nation should be held in this particular point of time. So, Civic Space, thank you very much for always being there to at least engage people and tell them. And I think I've been following up, you've been hosting different keynote speakers who have come out to speak, at least something, one or two. I also beg that at least as we do this, let's Civic Space also try to bring maybe a magazine online that we can always put even our articles and ideas so that people can also be able to read them, because there are those people who may be privileged not to attend our shows, but they can be there and read articles that are always online. So I would pray if Civic TV can also think about that the people,
All right.
people they host can write articles and people read about them. Lastly, the topic was good. I have learned one thing from my colleagues who have been together on space. We need to work and prepare on time. Preparation is the key. If we had been prepared, because if those, I think they're called the BVVK, if they had been bought in the last budget of some time back, wouldn't be now having issue that some of them have not yet even reached here. If they had even trained members how to use them in the past 2 years, we would be good to go. But if right now people are going to help in conducting these elections have not yet been even trained, they even don't know how those biometric machines look like, there is a very big question that we need to prepare. Preparation is the key, and we need to prepare.
All right.
Thank you. I wish everyone a
Well,
blessed day.
you've heard them. Council Collins Zimbaza, thank you so much for your time and for making time for the conversation. Gloria Nawanyaga, thank you so much, Council. Thank you so much for your time and for making time and for the conversation. And indeed, I said Dr. Esther Nancha, thank you so much for your time and for making time for the conversation. And to you, our amazing viewers, thank you so much for keeping it Community Voices Uganda and Civic Space TV. Special thanks to our technical team and special thanks to the Center for Constitutional Governance and all other partners that we work with to make sure we deliver this service, not just within Uganda, but across the world. My name is Philip Melissa, and see you next time.